Yo, what's good, Two-Tone Live? Today we got the Dex that created a killer, 415 Woo. That is drill. Like, comment, subscribe. Hold on, though. Let me fix this light. Y'all can barely see your boy. Like, comment, subscribe, man. We getting straight into this bitch. Bro.
This war doesn't just take lives, it takes peace, it takes childhood, it takes mothers in their sleep, and babies in their car seats. In Dallas Drill, it's easy to follow the headlines. Rival cliques, diss tracks, bodies on both sides. But behind every viral clip, behind every name trending for the wrong reasons, there are people who didn't ask for any of this. No gang ties, no street politics, just sons, daughters, mothers, trying to survive in a city that doesn't always let you. Because the truth is, this war isn't just between rappers and rivals. It's in the living rooms. It's in the bedrooms. It's in the car rides that never make it home. This is the part of the story that doesn't make the music. It doesn't get the views, but it leaves the deepest scars. Before 415 Woo picked up a gun, he picked up the pieces of a life shattered by other people's decisions. This is the pain that came before the rage, the grief that changed him forever. Before the guns, before the headlines, before the rage, there was just a boy who lost his mother. January 21st, 2022. The world didn't stop. People went to work. The city kept moving. But for 415 Woo, time shattered. His mother, Chastity Watson, was gone. Not to a bullet, not to beef, but gone all the same. The cause wasn't in the headlines. No cameras, no crime scene tape. Just quiet. The kind of quiet that follows real loss, where no one knows what to say and no words would matter anyway. Woo wasn't some hardened street figure yet. He was still a kid, still trying to figure out life. But now, he had no one to guide him. No one to make sure he ate, no one to check on him at night, no mother to tell him he mattered. He was alone, and in the streets of Dallas, being alone is like being exposed, vulnerable, forgettable, disposable. That's when she stepped in. Mika Simpson, 223 Trey's mom. She didn't have to. She had her own child, her own life, but she saw something in Woo. Maybe the pain, maybe the fear. And she couldn't just stand by. She brought him into her home, fed him, spoke life into him when the world had gone quiet. She didn't try to replace Chastity. She just did what mothers do. She loved him. Woo and Trey, already close, became more than just homies. They became brothers. Two kids navigating a city built like a war zone, trying to find a way out before it swallowed them whole. And for a moment, a rare moment, it looked like Woo might actually be okay. He still had pain, but now he had protection. He had loss, but now he had love. But in Dallas Drill, nothing good lasts forever. There are some losses that feel like an earthquake, but this one felt like the aftershock of an already shattered heart. February 6th, 2023. Exactly 1 year and 2 weeks after Woo lost his own mother, the woman who stepped in to fill that impossible void was taken away from him too. Mika Simpson was more than just Trey's mother. She was the one who kept Woo from falling into the streets too soon. The one who opened her home when no one else did. The one who told him, "You're not alone." And she meant it. But in Dallas Drill, love doesn't come without risk. At 1:49 a.m., the Heartland neighborhood was ripped awake by thunder, not from the sky, from 63 bullets sprayed into a single home like it was a war zone. A dark-colored sedan pulled up, slow and silent. Then chaos. Of the 63 shell casings, 61 were .223 rifle rounds, military-grade firepower. The target wasn't random. It was personal, calculated. But the bullet that mattered most hit Mika in the head while she was asleep. She never even had a chance to wake up. By the time she made it to the hospital, she was barely hanging on. By nightfall, she was gone. 38 years old, a mother, a caretaker, a protector. Gone for something she didn't start, didn't cause, and never deserved. Crandall Police Chief Forrest Frierson said that this residence appears to have been the intended target, but the victim was likely not. Behind that cold, careful wording was a brutal, undeniable truth. 223 Trey was the target. The bullets weren't meant for Mika. They were meant for her son, a boy caught in the middle of a war that wouldn't end. But when you unload 63 rounds into a house, you don't get to choose what soul you take. And that night, those bullets found her. Not Trey, not someone holding a gun. They hit a mother, the one who gave Trey life, the one who gave Wu shelter, the woman who should have been safe in the one place violence wasn't supposed to reach, her own bed. She never fired a shot, she never picked a side, but the streets picked her anyway. And just like that, she was gone. Not for something she did, but because of who she loved. Because in Dallas...
I ain't gonna lie, I ain't even for the serious. Like, I ain't already know the story. Like, it's really deeper than me just watching this shit, but man, it's so fucked up. I ain't even gonna lie to you, that's so fucked up. I'll be fucked. Keep watching, like, comment, subscribe.
Drill, even love can get you killed. Grief is one thing, but grief with no justice, that becomes something else entirely. It becomes rage, just waiting for a target. For almost 2 years, there was no justice for Mika. No arrests, no charges, no names on paperwork. But it wasn't silent. The city didn't go quiet. It got loud. They didn't mourn her, they mocked her. Her name became a punchline in diss tracks, a caption on op pages, a talking point for views and clout. And no one disrespected Mika harder than 5K rapper Lou Bands. Over and over again, he taunted her memory, posted videos of her, laughed at her death, as if a mother being gunned down in her sleep was just another score in the war. For Wu and Trey, it wasn't just grief anymore. It was personal. It was humiliation. It was pain, broadcasted for the world to see. So when December 8th, 2024 came around, and a black Uber SUV carrying Lou Band's mother and sister got sprayed 67 times, that wasn't a random shooting. That was a statement. Then came the confirmation. Not in court, not from a detective, but from the place most truths get leaked in Dallas Drill. The music. A month ago, a single dropped. Hank Not Livin' by 5K No Face featuring 5K Lil D. It wasn't just a song, it was a smirk. And buried in the verse was a line that hit like a grenade. Do y'all know who killed Mika? Bro ass be banging that 5 on the cool. I just gave y'all a hint. That wasn't a metaphor. That wasn't a diss. That was a public claim. 5K, the clique from Highland Hills, was saying it loud. We did it. All the online disrespect, the mocking, the posts, the songs, and now this line. It painted the full picture. Mika's death wasn't random. It was a calculated hit, and now the people responsible were proud of it. Some losses feel like they shatter the soul, but others, they just leave you numb. By fall of 2023, the pain around Wu and Trey had already piled high, but nothing could prepare them, or the city, for what happened on September 24th, 2023. It was Mika Simpson's birthday, her first one since being taken by gunfire while she slept. Her family gathered that night in East Dallas, not to mourn, but to celebrate her life. There were kids smiling, laughter in the air, cameras flashing. It felt almost normal, until it wasn't. Around 9:30 p.m., gunfire ripped through the block on Hay Street, shattering the celebration in an instant. A car drove past, slow, then opened fire. People ran, screaming, ducking behind anything they could find. Inside one of the cars parked on the street, Zaya Tinky Lacey, a baby who was buckled into her seat. She was hit twice. I grabbed my grandbaby when I was running with her. I got behind a truck, and when I felt the blood, I went to hollering, "My baby's shot," said Deborah Harper Smith, Zaya's grandmother. They didn't wait for an ambulance. They sped off to the nearest hospital, but it was already too late. Zaya was gone, didn't even know what a gang was, didn't know what beef meant. Her only mistake was being in the wrong place when bullets found their way to that car. That's the thing about this war. It doesn't aim. It doesn't care. It just keeps pulling triggers. The family's pain turned into outrage. Don't shoot into no crowd. Don't shoot into no house. You ain't hitting your target. You hitting innocent people, said Harper Smith. My grandbaby wasn't your target, so why did she have to die? No good answer ever came. Surveillance footage later showed the suspect vehicle, possibly a dark-colored Hyundai Sonata, leaving the scene. Another innocent life, another funeral with balloons and teddy bears. Another headline that made people cry, then scroll on. But for the families in the middle of it, especially Wu and Trey, this wasn't just another tragedy. This was proof. Even babies aren't safe anymore. The streets don't care how old you are. They don't care if you're innocent. And now a little girl, just a baby, was dead because of it. Some stories fade with time. People move on, the headlines disappear, but not this one. Zaya Tinky. Lacey's death wasn't just another story in the cycle. It still gets mentioned. Every few months, a news anchor revisits the footage. A city official pleads for peace. A candlelight vigil flickers under a streetlight. Because it wasn't just the brutality, it was the innocence. A baby, gone, and no one held accountable. But while the media still grieved and the city tried to forget, the streets didn't. They turned it into music, not to mourn, but to mock. Hop Out 5 and Murder for Youngin', two rappers from PCE, dropped a song. The track was called Can't Forget, and there was a line, one that turned a grave into a punchline. And Mika ain't living these days be dissing on Jizzle. I think they just mad about a baby. They knew exactly what they were doing, exactly who was listening. This wasn't just a diss, it was a dare. They weren't just taunting Trey, they were baiting him, poking at Wu's grief, begging for a response. And in this war, when you beg for smoke, you better be ready to breathe it. East Dallas, 75223, a zip code that bleeds. And from that concrete came Shannon Steele, known in the streets as 223 Lil Switch. 20 years old, raised off East Grand Avenue, and by all accounts, one of the most demonic rappers in the Dallas drill scene. He wasn't just affiliated with the violence, he embodied it. Tapped in with 223 Trey and 415 Wu, he repped their war like it was religion. But before he became a headline, Lil Switch caught his first body in the shadows. An argument outside CJ's Billiards and Sports Bar spiraled. Words turned to war. Gunmen opened fire near a crowd of people. Over 40 shell casings hit the pavement. Amid the chaos, an innocent bystander, Vernon Rivers, was struck in the head, killed instantly. The bullet came from a fleeing Nissan Altima. Police believe Lil Switch, riding passenger, fired the fatal .40 caliber shot. Fox 4 aired a track-down segment days later. Surveillance was released. Tips poured in. But for over 2 years, Lil Switch vanished. Not into hiding, but into infamy. While wanted for murder, Lil Switch was still outside. Still spinning. Still posting trillers. Still dropping music videos on YouTube. Like the blood on his hands wasn't even dry. A warrant had been signed in August 2022. But he wasn't arrested until December 16th, 2024. 2 years and 6 months later, it was a long time coming. But by the time Dallas County finally booked him, another storm had already been brewing. An Airbnb on Slaughter Street. Slaughter Street, it sounds like a horror movie. But on November 23rd, 2023, it was all too real. Inside a rented Airbnb apartment, a celebration was underway. Dayton Allen was just hours away from turning 20, surrounded by friends and by love. His 18-year-old girlfriend, Alexis Tyler, was there. She was pregnant, a new life on the way, a young couple dancing into adulthood with hope. There was laughter, there were photos, there was food on the way, and then...
This is the thinnest armor ever. Introducing Hyper Concealable
armor.
At exactly 10:19 p.m., bullets started flying. Not one or two, over 30 rounds. It wasn't random. It wasn't mistaken identity. This was a hit, cold, coordinated, and evil. Police say 5 people were involved. They traveled from Dallas to Arlington with one goal: kill Dayton Allen and take out anyone next to him. Among those arrested, 415 Wu, real name, Chrysavion Whitted, just 18 years old. The same teen whose mother's name Chastity was still tatted across his neck in his mugshot. And next to him, 20-year-old Shannon Steele, better known as 223 Lil Switch. He was already in jail for murdering Vernon Rivers, an innocent bystander outside CJ's Billiards. But what made this betrayal even colder? Lil Switch was Dayton Allen's cousin. So was 26-year-old Diamond Curdy. She helped set it all up. Blood turned on blood. Over what? Police say it may have started with something petty. Dayton returned Curdy's car with no gas months earlier, and she never let it go. Detectives say Curdy and the suspects all met up in Dallas, then followed Allen and Tyler to Arlington. Cell phone pings, traffic cameras, and surveillance video caught it all. At 10:13 p.m., the victims walk into the apartment. Curdy follows behind. Minutes later, 4 figures dressed in dark hoodies exit a white Ford Fusion. One carries a duffel bag. Inside that bag, modified handguns, converted with switches to go fully automatic. At 10:19 p.m., the silence of the night exploded. The shooters didn't aim to scare. They came to end. They sprayed the room, hitting both Dayton and Alexis with dozens of rounds. Dayton being hit over 30 times. He died on the floor of the Airbnb. Alexis died shortly after at Arlington Memorial Hospital. She never made it to 19, never got to meet her baby. A double homicide, an unborn child, erased, and what followed was pure deceit. Curdy told police she didn't know anything was coming, said she was hiding in the closet, but investigators didn't buy it. Her own Google search history the next day included Instacash cell phone machines. She tried to sell her phone, the same one that detectives believe held evidence of the setup. Eco ATM surveillance showed her inputting information. Her girlfriend stood beside her. The seller. Her story crumbling. So was the one from suspect Demarion Owens, the man who owned the white Ford Fusion. He claimed he was passed out drunk in Dallas, but cell data proved otherwise. He was right there, driving the killers. But the deeper you dig, the more one name keeps surfacing. Wu, not as the mastermind, but as the emotionless trigger. Because by that night, Wu wasn't just angry, he was demon-possessed. First, his mother Chastity died. Then came Mika Simpson, a second mother to him, shot in the head while she slept. 2 women, gone. And Wu, he stopped being human. He didn't just lose love, he lost his tether to life. By the time Wu walked into that Airbnb, he was something else. There was no hesitation, no second thought, just fury, just fire. Whoever was in that room, he had already buried them in his mind. Because when the people you die for are gone, you start killing like nothing matters. And that night, nothing did. 6 lives gone. Chastity, Mika, Zaya, Dayton, Alexis, and a baby who never took a breath. None of them were dissing. None of them were in the field. None of them thought they'd die. But pain doesn't play favorites, and grief doesn't need a reason. What happened to Wu isn't just a story of retaliation. It's a story of transformation. When a broken heart grows teeth, pain didn't just shape him, it hollowed him out. And what was left? A killer. Not because he wanted to be, but because everything he would have lived for was already dead.
So fucked up. Like, comment, subscribe, man. We moving.